Alright, what's up guys? Today we're doing the long-awaited follow-up to the Rokket structure deck. Of course, we did receive a bit of support through Striker Dragon and of course through, give me a second, I sort of forget his name, but Starliege Seyfert. Two cards that are very, very integral to the deck. Unfortunately, between now and the last video, we have lost Agarpain, and he will be missed. I honestly didn't think he needed to be hit because, in all seriousness, Nibiru kind of shits on this deck. So, like I said, I don't think it really needed to be hit. I think there were a lot of choke points, and the deck wasn't really that powerful or impactful. And I think a lot of the back row decks were a lot more potent than this deck, especially in the last meta, and don't even get me started on Orcus. But that's irrelevant. Let's get to this. I'm very thrilled with what's come out. The two cards are extremely good, and it makes the Rokket deck a lot more playable, but let's get into it. First of all, we play 3 copies of the best Rokket by far, Rokket Tracer. His effect, basically, quick effect, you could just target a face-up card you control, destroy it, and special summon Rokket from your deck, and then unfortunately, you are locked into dark monsters. But that doesn't really matter because by the time you use this effect, you use this around the end of the combo, and you're locked into darks, and then you just make Borrel Savage very easily because you just summon a level 4, you have him, you make Borrel Savage, and by the time you use this effect, it's irrelevant. Play 2 copies of Silver Rokket. He's one of the better ones because he can snipe a card out of your opponent's extra deck. So this can be... I usually use Sky Strikers as an example because you can snipe their 1 Kagari. But with Sky Strikers are sort of falling off the edge. But you can certainly get rid of a Galatea, even though they play multiples. You can get rid of a Dingirsu. You know, just make their deck a lot less usable, as I should say. Or, like, what else is in the metagame right now? You can't really do anything about Subterror, so this might be a card you want to side out. But like I said, against a lot of decks, this is a pretty terrifying card. And of course, you can snipe super polymerization targets, so you can snipe a Starving Venom Fusion Dragon if they're playing that in their side deck. You can get rid of it, and then they can't do anything about you. 2 copies of Magna Rokket. This card, when it's targeted and destroyed, or targeted by an effect by a link monster, or targeted by a link monster, you can quick effect destroy itself and then send a monster from your opponent's side of the field. Same thing with this. But definitely very good cards for those reasons. Absolouter Dragon. This card, if it's sent to the graveyard, you can add a Rokket. That's usually the effect you're going to be using for this one. Although if you control a Rokket, you can special summon from the hand. But the main effect you'll be using is to search the Rokket. That effect is like, there's like very little restriction on that effect. It is a hard once per turn. But like if you discard it, you get this effect. If you send it to the graveyard, Foolish Burial, you get this effect. Like this effect goes off almost no matter what, which is why I love it. Then we play 1 Rokket Synchron. The only reason you basically play this is just because it's a level 1 tuner and it's searchable throughout the deck. We play 2 copies of Starliege. Might bump this up, might not. There is a combo with this, but this is more of one of those normal summon cards. So basically what this card does is you can send any number of dragons from your hand or field to the graveyard and add 1 dragon from your deck to your hand whose levels equal to the original levels of those monsters sent to the graveyard. You will usually summon this, target itself, send it to the graveyard, and then add the Collapse Serpent, and then you can proceed to Link Climb. It's like a really, really easy combo. And not only that, it would be even crazier if the Collapse Serpent and the White Dragon weren't limited to 1. But they are limited to 1 as it stands because of past decks. But yeah, it's still a really, really good normal summon. It gets you, like, just this 1 card gets you, like, 80% into a really good board. It basically, just this card by itself gives you a Borrel Savage and a, what's his name? And a borrelsword or Borreload, depending on what you want. So just off of 1 card, it's pretty darn good. But I don't think it actually is the best normal summon that you could be possibly playing in this deck, and we'll go over the better normal summon. And then the second effect is you can banish this from the graveyard and then add a level 8 lighter dark monster from your graveyard to your hand, but that effect isn't really relevant in this deck. It's really good in Blue Eyes, but it's not relevant in this deck. Then we've got 1 copy of Collapse Serpent, and 1 copy of White Wyvern Buster. Like I said, you need those for that combo. We're playing 1 copy of Dragoonity Phalanx, since we can search this and activate it from our deck and attach it and special summon it. It's pretty good for that. Playing 1 copy of Tempest, Dragon Ruler of the Storms, 1 copy of Destrudo, Lost Dragon of Fission, 3 copies of Draconet. Draconet, honestly, I think is the best possible normal summon for this deck. It's more fragile. I can admit that. But to be 100% honest with you, with Draconet, like Draconet, like as a 1 card, like +8, and it's difficult to really justify not playing it because it's so good. It gets you like halfway through. It puts so many cards in the graveyard. It gets you through like the whole Guardragon combo. It used to be able to do the whole Guardragon combo virtually on its own, but now where obviously you don't have Agarpain, but it gets you like 99% of the way there, and then you just, instead of Agarpain, you just go into something else. You can go into a Link Monster for the Dragoonity Link Monster instead. You can go directly into Savage Dragon. You can go into other stuff, but it gets you like 99% of the way through the Guardragon combo. Which, yeah, this card is just insane. Then we play the Galaxy Serpent, which is the best card to summon off of that card below. The 1 card of World Chalice Guardragon, 1 Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, and 1 Amorphage Goliath. You can choose not to play this and just summon a rocket from your deck when you use the Heretic Dragon. The Heretic Seal of Heavenly Spheres, you can just choose to summon a rocket instead of summoning this, but personally I prefer to summon the Amorphage Goliath because usually you'll set up like 4 or 5 negates, or interruptions of some kind. Like, in a regular hand you'll probably set up like 2 or 3 negates or interruptions, but honestly I think that this is probably better to summon anyways off the Heavenly Spheres, just because this kind of like, it solidifies a win, because your opponent normal summons, you bounce their monster, and then you summon this from the deck in defense position, and now you bounce their normal summon, and they can't special summon from the extra deck, so you've kind of like, you sort of locked them in. It's just one of those cards, once you put it on the field, that's it, it's a done deal, and you can always just summon it off of Sir Yugioh, if you have like a weaker hand. Then we've got the Boot Sector Launch, which is now searchable with Striker Dragon. It lets you basically summon. It basically lets you summon rockets from your hand, which is decent. We play a decent amount of rockets, and then we can get more off of Sir Yugioh. If anything that you can change from this deck is probably to increase the amount of rockets in the main deck. But other than that, I think it's pretty darn good. Then we play 3 copies of Quick Launch because it gives us access to all the rockets. 3 copies of Cynet Mining. It gives us access to the Draconet, so we basically are playing 6 copies of Draconet, and like I said, it is the best starter in this deck. 1 copy of Dragon's Ravine. 1 copy of Dragoonity Divine Lance. This card, basically, you summon the Dragoonity Link Monster, you search out this thing, or the Dragon's Ravine, you can choose, but the other option, other than Dragon's Ravine, is to search the Dragon's Divine Lance, you attach it, and then you get to, from your deck, because of the Divine Lance, you can attach the Phalanx, and then off the Phalanx's effect, you can special summon him off of being equipped to the field, and then you basically can go into a Guardragon right off of that. So it gives you like free gas for Guardragon plays. In addition to it being a level 2 tuner, which isn't too relevant, but if you needed, if you had, some sort of weird combination, you could use him if you needed to. Then we play 3 copies of the World Legacy Guardragon, which is an extraordinarily good card. Like I said, it's Monster Reborn for like half the cards in your deck. And on top of that, it is searchable off the IB, the World Chalice Justicar. Also, another card searchable off of IB is World Legacy Succession, and it's basically Monster Reborn. You can hard draw this. Like these cards, it doesn't matter. You can hard draw them, you can search them. Either way, you want them in your hand. So this card I play because not only is it a good card, but like let's say you already have this in your hand, this is a hard once per turn. You might as well just search this off the IB. Gives you a free basic Monster Reborn, and you always have Link Arrows. It's not one of those situations. It's not one of those decks where you won't be able to resolve this well. You definitely will. 1 copy of the Dragon Shrine. You send whatever you need. You can send the Dragon Ruler. You can send Destrudo, but most importantly, you can send the Router Dragon to the graveyard, and he never misses timing. He's an amazingly written card. So you always get to resolve his effect. Then we play one Foolish Burial. We don't play 2 Dragon Shrines because it's a hard once per turn, so you might as well play 1 Foolish, 1 Dragon Shrine. So it's good in that way. And then we play 3 copies of Called by the Grave because we don't want to get hand trapped in this deck. This is a pure combo deck. You do not want to get hand trapped, but it is a very fun, very enjoyable deck to play. So that is the main deck. Next we go to the extra deck. We are playing 1 copy of our new boss monster, since we can't we can technically summon Hot Red Dragon Archfiend, Archfiend Abyss. We can technically still summon it in this deck, but it'll just it eats up so many resources. You have to give up like 3 monsters to summon the thing, because you have to make a synchro monster, and then you have to, it's just too much. Don't do it. You definitely want to summon this instead, because, like I said, it's easy. It's far easier. 1 copy of Ib, World Chalice Justicar. You need this for your combo with our homeboy Draconet. Play 1 copy of Beat Cop. Again, another card you need for that combo. Guardragon Agarpain, Guardragon Pisty. 1 copy of Romulus, because it searches, like I said, those cards. And basically those Dragoonity cards I showed you. 1 copy of Striker Dragon. This searches the Boot Sector Launch field spell. We've been waiting for this forever. This should have honestly been in the structure deck. I think I have one over here. The structure deck for, what is this called? The structure deck for Rockets Revolt. It honestly should have been in that structure deck. This structure deck should have had a release like Salamangrates, and unfortunately we never got to use Striker Dragon and Agarpain in the same area. Agarpain got abused by a bunch of non-dragon decks, and then we finally get a dragon deck and it can't even abuse it. But yeah, basically we've got the Striker Dragon, the homeboy, 1 Booster Dragon. This is just in case you have like a smaller amount of dragons and you want to target stuff on your side of the field. 1 Quadriload Dragon, same situation. If you have a smaller amount of you can't go into a large amount of dragons, just use that to target the rockets and use their effects. This is a new card, Galaxy Satellite Dragon. This card is kind of like busted because it basically lets you, during your opponent's end phase, pick any card in your deck and put it on the top of your deck. So you're like guaranteeing yourself a draw, which in certain decks that could be pretty good. I don't know a lot of slower dragon decks or like control dragon decks, but if there was ever like a slow control dragon deck, this card would be extremely good. If there was like an Altergeist version of dragons or like a Guru control version of dragons, this card would just be absolutely busted, because you could basically fix your draw every single turn. But unfortunately, dragons, or this deck more so, is one of those decks where it's like you're gonna win or you're gonna lose. You're gonna build a board and they're gonna break it, or they're not gonna be able to break it and you're gonna win. But I don't. There's no like real grind game with dragons. But if it gets to that, you can basically fix your next draw, which is pretty awesome. 1 copy of Borreload, the homeboy. 1 Saryuja. We definitely might even bump it up to 2. 1 Appaloosa, because yes, you can make that extraordinarily easily in this deck. Very easily, as a matter of fact. I was just doing test hands. I wasn't recording it, but my end board was basically Appaloosa. What's the other guy? Appaloosa, borrelsword, Savage, and Hieratic Seal, off of very minimal stuff. But definitely, this deck is pretty good and pretty consistent. 1 copy of borrelsword, like I said, and the Hieratic Seal of Heavenly Spheres. Now, as far as making a combo video, I'm not really sure. I might make one, I might not. I know people would probably want a combo video. There aren't as many like 1-card, 2-card combos as there once were, and they're definitely not as easy to break down into 1- and 2-card combos. It's going to take a lot more thought, only because the guy, what's his name, Agarpain, got hit, so it's like the boards are going to be a little different. You kind of have to see what is in your hand and then play based on what is in your hand. So it's a little more difficult in that regard. It's certainly a lot more different, because you're basically trying to get as many rockets in hand as you can, and then activating the Boot Sector Launch and getting resources. So you're using Saryuja to kind of sift and look through your hand. and I can't really show that in a 1 or 2 card combo. It's going to be very difficult. I can show you some of the starter combos with the Seyfert and the Draco net. I can definitely do that, so I might make a video on that. We'll see how it goes. But overall, thank you for watching. Drop a like if you can. Hopefully this video helped you out in some way or manner. And again, thank you for watching.